We are live from Sales HQ. I'm Vince Beasy, your host and the founder here at Sales HQ, and my guest today is Ari Gardner.
Howdy, folks.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Haven't seen you in a while. Well, it's been a hot minute. We haven't spent a lot of time together. So let's first get into what this thing, Sales HQ, is that we're sitting at right now. It's a first of its kind co-selling community for remote sellers and sales teams. Our first location is here in Morrisville, North Carolina. Really what it is, a replication of what a sales floor used to be like. You know, a lot of folks are out there working remote and not able to really get motivated or collaborate, and they miss networking, networking with people that are like-minded. So that's what we're creating here at Sales HQ, and it's a membership. So you come and go as you will. Some people work here, some people just have meetings here, some people just come for these networking events. So if you want more information about Sales HQ, to go to saleshq.co. So, Ari, tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you up to these days?
I am leading 2 different teams over at a company called Storable. It's a super niche market. We sell into the marine space. So marinas, rental operators, service yards, et cetera. It's a really fun market to sell into. It's really, really a hoot.
Are you a boat owner yourself?
I am not. I'm not. But it is a fun market to sell into.
That's very cool. Is the company headquartered here? Or is it...
The mothership, as I like to call it, is headquartered out of Austin. But my teams are fully distributed, which is a fancy way of saying work from home, which is why I think this is such a good community that you're building, because you don't get the roar of a sales floor at the end of a month, end of a quarter. I do miss that.
We do have the bell over there, so if you have a win today, you help yourself to go over there.
I do miss a good office prank too, so that's something that I miss.
Interesting, a marina company services marina in Austin. I think last time I checked, Austin was surrounded by land. Am I correct?
Well, there's Lake Travis, which is a pretty big boating spot there. There's a lot of marinas there. But it's a kind of a narrow market, right? There's only about 30,000. The TAM is not huge, only about 30,000-ish. But it's fiercely competitive, believe it or not.
Yeah.
A lot of competition in a narrow market.
Yeah. So you're part of the Citrix Mafia.
Absolutely.
You're probably my 3rd or 4th guest now. I have some relation to Citrix, which is in this area. You literally can throw a stone and hit somebody.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And it appears, so my first question has to do with, I always ask my guests, like, how did you get into sales? And then how did you follow up that? How did you get into sales leadership? So I don't know if it was Citrix or before that, but tell us your story of how you got started.
I will give you bullet points. I try to think in bullet points. I'll give you the abridged version. But I think sales is one of the things that finds you, right? Most people don't grow up saying, I want to be a salesperson. It's usually an astronaut or the president or a rock star or something. I grew up playing music, and I like to joke that my mom was a Battle of the Bands mom, not a soccer mom. And so, I sang and played guitar, wrote songs, and fronted a popular band. We had major label interest when I was in college. So we would play like House of Blues size venues, a couple thousand people a night type deal. So there's a period of my life where I might have been a rock star. After that, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I thought about going to law school. I took the LSAT, did okay. And at the 0 hour, decided not to go that direction. Ended up studying media and film at the New School in Manhattan. A lot of people know Parsons. It's the College of Design at New School. Yeah. Parsons turned out folks like, Mark Jacobs, Tom Ford, Donna Karen.
Small people.
Just small folks. The media school that I went to, the College of Media and Design there was folks like Kevin Smith went there, Jonah Hill, right? So I formally studied something that I was more interested in, and then kind of did the starving artist thing for a while in the wake of the Great Recession, and had kind of a mentor that's actually with us in the audience here. My father-in-law said, hey, why don't you try sales? And ended up selling real estate for a couple of years. And I realized a couple of things. One, I didn't really love selling real estate. But 2, I really like selling.
What year was the real estate?
This was, like 2010, right? So I'm going on 15 years.
The real estate market wasn't that great.
It was not a good market. Not knowing much about business at the time, I thought it was probably a good time to do it. But it was a tough time. But you just have to adapt like anything else.
Did you do that here in the North Carolina
down
market?
In Florida, actually. So in a really tough market, and did that for a few years. So found success doing it. And then decided that I wanted to do something that was more aligned.
What did you like? You said you didn't like real estate.
I didn't
sales.
love.
What did you take away that told you that you could be good in sales?
I think just I love challenging folks and being persuasive, and sometimes a real estate sale a lot of times is a really emotional sale. Yeah, people get really emotional about property, and they think it's more than it's worth, and it's really not, or it's the wrong color, or it doesn't have an island, and you know what, all that at the end of the day doesn't really matter. So I really liked trying to find ways to get,
Yeah.
make sure that people understood this is the right place for you, right? So kind of being persuasive and that element of it. Living down in South Florida at the time, you mentioned Citrix. I would always drive by the Citrix building at the time,
That's right, 'cause
huge
that's a
Citrix building down
headquarter,
there. And I got thinking, well, there's got to be like a cool entry-level sales gig that I could get at this place. Discovered a ShareFile that they had just acquired up here in Raleigh, applied for the gig, drove up for the interview, got the gig, and packed up my car and have been here ever since.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah. So I started on the ShareFile team. Within the first year, I was running one of our verticals, and years later,
was Mr. Rosar there at the time?
Yeah, all paths lead back to Rosar, of course. Yeah.
And last week, our guest was someone you're very familiar with, Mr. Kitching.
Sure. Yeah. Very interesting dude.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Citrix, that's great. So so now that you're at Citrix, you're in this entry-level sales role.
Yeah.
Tell us what that's like.
It was a grind. It was. I like to say, back in the day, I was kind of, walking uphill both ways in the snow, right, to school. But it was doing 100+ dials a day at first, right, and grinding it out. And I think that really toughens you. And I think that the kind of the outbound motion kind of hardens you as a salesperson in a very good way and makes you really think on your feet and stuff like that. And so it was a really awesome experience.
Was that a closing role or was that a setup role?
I started as smiling and dialing, right? Like I think most people should in sales.
Yeah.
You've got to.
But you took it all the way through and closed the deals too?
Yeah. Then I did. I did that for a number of years, and then I ran a team, and then I ran multiple teams there.
Yeah. Very much a vertical approach there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love the vertical approach. Yeah. I want to get to this, but I want to get to the whole full cycle sales thing, because I think over the last 10 years, there's been a lot of transformation in sales. Not just on the tooling side, of course, a lot of stuff with AI, but philosophically of, BDRs, SDRs, whatever you want to call it, and where are we going to go with that? You've been in the game for now probably 14 years or so.
Long time.
What do you think's dramatically changed or really significantly changed over the last 2 years? What's good about it? What's bad about it?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. So I think number one, I think buyers are more keen these days, right? They kind of research things before, right, in advance. I think in the early days of SaaS, people maybe didn't really know what they want, right? You had an opportunity to kind of change their mind and show them a different way of doing things. Nowadays, they kind of know what they're going for. So that challenger mentality still works and still makes sense.
Yeah.
But you have to now show value in different ways and really have really clear value propositions and kind of fit in and show them how you can do things that they are already trying to do or know they want to do. The other thing that I think that's changed is the outbound model is just different, right? Yeah. I mean, like there's a lot of companies that still prospect, and obviously my teams are one of them. But a lot of folks are again inbound, kind of raising their hands and saying, "Hey, I want to talk to sales," and you need to kind of handle those differently. I think those are a couple of things that I could say. And the other thing I would say is, obviously, like with the pandemic, that changed the game, obviously, which is why you exist here, right? Is to kind of bring back that roar of the sales floor, as I like to phrase it. But folks are remote, and so you just need to be more prescriptive with how you manage teams and teach folks, especially folks that are new, that are greener, kind of entering the sales force, that maybe didn't even grow up in the office environment, right? They only know remote work. Yeah. So you got to be more prescriptive with training.
So are you doing outbound today?
Absolutely.
Are more of your leads coming from outbound or inbound?
Vast majority, over 80% outbound.
Really? Mm-hmm. And with that split, where are you having more success closing deals, inbound or outbound?
It's about even. So in my market, there's a tremendous, I mentioned earlier, there's like fierce competition, even though it's a narrow market. So, most sales end in status quo, right? Sales calls end in status quo. I'm not going to change. So it's really about even. But if we're able to show folks value, right, and explain that, like, hey, this is going to be better and different, and here's why, and here's what you're looking for, here's how we can do it with our system, it's a win. So it's really kind of about even, actually.
So it sounds like you're having success with outbound, which a lot of people aren't these days. What's your primary channel that you're doing outreach or getting in touch with folks?
It's old school, over the phone.
Yeah.
Picking up the horn, especially in our market. It's, folks are...
These are business owners you're
Business owners that we're talking to, right? But it's a real estate-based business. So a lot of them are second, third generation ownership and really kind of been doing the same thing for a long time. So a lot of them are not on LinkedIn, for instance. A lot of them, just respond really well to over the phone. So
mobile?
Yeah.
Because they might have business phones.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but it's still over the phone.
Yeah, but they're calling their cell phones.
Cell phones or business lines, both. Yeah.
because they're probably the ones that actually do have a business line where in B2B right now,
exactly.
office people aren't even back in office.
100%. Yeah. So exactly. They need to be there to take calls from their guests or people that want to reserve spaces and things like that. A lot of them are under a boat, right? You'd be surprised how many times you call somebody and they're like, I got to call you back. I'm under a boat right now, or a boat's sinking right now. And so a lot of times they are walking around the property.
The hazards of the job, right?
It is. I've heard some crazy stuff. Yeah,
it's crazy. Does anything else work besides phone for you guys?
We obviously, like most companies, we do nurture campaigns and email, obviously all that stuff. But the most effective is still the good old phone.
Yeah. And then let's go back to the full cycles. That's where I started this full cycle sales. I'm a true believer in full cycle sales. I think you should have to go out there, curate a list, do research on a list of the companies you want to go after, match them to the ICP, all that fun stuff. And I think you need to take it from the introduction to the close, wherever that is. And I think that creates a really well-rounded salesperson. Besides, I think at the end of the day, that's a better customer experience, right? Customer doesn't want to be handed off 3 or 4 different times. It's annoying. And besides, in enterprise sales anyway, it takes a long time to nurture relationships. So if I'm an enterprise rep, the best ones are going to be there a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, because they know their territory, they know their accounts. And so maybe this doesn't translate as well for SMB, but for mid-market and enterprise, I really like the full cycle sales approach. Is that what you're doing? What are your thoughts about that?
A huge segment of our market that we sell into is enterprise. And so we went from over the last 2 years working with like relatively 0 to now over 60% of the enterprises in our market. So you're right.
What defines an enterprise for you guys?
We look at it as 3 or more locations or single properties, right? Different like a group that maybe is PE backed that owns multiple properties and looking to expand, or a single location that has just a massive amount of spaces, whether it's wet slips, dry slips, storage, service center, ship store, et cetera. Right? We kind of do all these different things within our software rentals and all that. So we look for folks that just have, growth potential, but also already have a couple of properties under their belt. And we went from 0 to 60% of them in the last couple of years. The process, you're right, is totally different, right? It's we'll zip around the country, right? I'll zip around with my team and meet folks and go to their office and stuff like that. Part of it is that, right? You just have to get in front of people, and then it is obviously a longer sales cycle. Different way of approaching it.
Longer sales cycle, but stickier relationships once you sign them because they're typically more invested in it. And I think that also ties the outbound. I don't know this for your business, but outbound versus inbound, to me, the biggest difference is retention. When you go outbound and when you generate the interest and you develop that relationship through that means, they tend to stick around more. Right. Stickier.
We have over a 91% retention rate right now, which is great. So we've got, an awesome post-sales team as well. So we've got a really good kind of system structured where we sell something and hand it off.
So this obviously is not a vertical play for you here. So how do you bifurcate your sales team? How do you segment or go to market?
So the TAM is not ginormous, so I can't really blow up the team to be super huge. Like I've run, 50, 60 size person sales teams in the past. This market's a little bit different, and it's unique in the sense that you have the mid-market and the SMB. You do have this large swath of the market that's enterprises, and that actually counts for a huge number of the spaces, like total spaces that we can grab market share in. So I have, kind of my tiger team of senior, kind of more seasoned closers that I work with, and we tackle the enterprise together. So I co-sell alongside them. It's still one of my favorite things to do. I helped wrangle in some of the big ones that we have as well. So the kids still got it. But yeah, it's just a different process. And then the rest of the reps on the team are hitting up SMB in the market.
Do you have quota for your reps?
Absolutely.
Do you? Do you believe in quota?
I do. Why? I think you have to have a goal to hit. Otherwise, you don't really know what good is. Or what
so your quota for you is more like a goal?
No, they're accountable to the number.
Why is it important though?
I think they've got to have in general, like I have a quota, right? And then my team has to have a quota. They've got to have, everyone has to have a goal to hit. Otherwise, you don't really know what success looks like.
Are your quotas fair, realistic?
Yeah, I think they are.
What are they based on?
They're based on,
Sorry, I'm
no, it's a good question.
This is a conversation.
If we have time, we can pull up a pivot table or something. But yeah, I have this whole formula that I use that starts with the TAM, right? And you kind of back it into what my goal is. So it wasn't
a number your board gave you, it said, I don't care, just go do it.
It's a data-driven, a data-driven number. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So the team feels the quota is fair.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important, right? Because otherwise, then it's just me stressing out about the number. But everyone has to be kind of in it to win it, and kind of forging for the same goal,
and
right?
At the end of the year, what do you forecast or predict the percent towards goal will be for your reps specifically?
Yeah. It will be very high. They will attain.
80% of your team will attain?
Probably around there.
Okay, it's better than what's going on.
Probably right around there. Yeah, like I said, they're fair. It's not like pie in the sky numbers, but they've got to put up the effort, and it still is largely heavily outbound. So you got to pick up the phone.
I also bring up quota because it's something that when folks are looking for new sales jobs, right? It's like their OTE, and then so your OTE is predicated based on you hitting 2.5 million in quota, whatever the number is, and you don't know as a new rep if that's realistic or not. So on paper, it sounds really $300,000. That's great, but like you ain't getting close to 2.5 million in the next 24 months, let alone next 6 to 12, right? So,
I literally give them a formula.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I do with them is walk through, okay, here's your goal. Here's how you can get there. I ask them to kind of prep it in advance, and then I tweak it with them. And then basically all they've really got to do is hold themselves accountable to that daily. Yeah. Right. And then I hold them accountable to that as well.
I haven't had this radical, I guess, approach to it. I haven't personally done it yet, which is that you're a salesperson at the company. You're expected to participate. You're supposed to contribute, right? Here's kind of our guidelines of what we think you should contribute over a year. Here's what high performers do. Here's what mid performers do. Here's what low performers do. If you're a low performer, you're not here anymore. So we don't even have the conversation. And then I'm just going to pay you a percentage based on what you do and over attainment. And you're going to make a tremendous amount of money. I say that because I wonder if this quarter to quarter or month to month kind of quota pressure is good or bad on the rep. Forget about the company. And look, you have to track numbers. You have to guide the numbers and all that stuff. But sales is hard enough as it is. Do you really need to be over pressure on them that a reinforcement? Like the last thing I'll do, and I'll shut up, is like at the end of each quarter, I'll be talking to reps for potential coming in here. Oh man, it's the end of quarter, and I can't talk over the next week. I'm like, well, what'd you do the last 3 months? Just play golf every day? Like, why is it always the last 3 days? Because it's this drive to hit this number. But you should be always driving to close deals. So why do we put this false kind of deadline of each quarter and each month? Right?
I think most people procrastinate. Crazy? No, I agree with you. Most people procrastinate, right? And so now they're trying to make up the gap that they didn't do all those days they were playing golf or whatever. They're making it up now and they're stressed. And so that's tough though, because you also, if they're data driven, they would know their sales cycle and they may or not, may not be realistic.
That's my point. If you sell a mid-market or enterprise and it's 3 days out from the end of quarter,
you can't backfill a deal.
It ain't happening. That's why I was going to say to the camera, like, I honest to God, I've never sweated a quarter in my life because I already knew the last month going into the end of the quarter what it was going to be, and the forecasting was tremendously accurate in enterprise sales. Right? Like I'm sure at Salesforce, you never had a problem forecasting end of quarter, right? These big deals, right? So I don't know. It's this mentality.
So it's procrastination. It's not understanding the sales cycle, and then it's maybe not understanding the buyer, right? And like how realistic that is. So it's stress. But I think there's bad stress and there's healthy paranoia, right?
Yes.
And so I think if you have a sense of healthy paranoia about your number, and to your point, if you're acting with a sense of urgency, I think you had a post on LinkedIn recently about acting with urgency. Like you should do that all the time.
And urgency is, I don't think you teach urgency. You either are.
You learn it. Yeah.
You could learn it,
but I think
it's one of those instincts. You either have it or you don't have that instinct, right? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like a hunter mentality too.
Like, what's surprising about when I've opened the doors here is like my audience is salespeople and sales teams.
Yep.
What's the number one thing that salespeople complain about? They complain about, I'm going to answer it for you too. I ask a question.
You might have the same answer.
Ghosting, right? Ghosting. Oh, how do you see on LinkedIn all the time? How do you stop people from ghosting you? I really feel like going on LinkedIn and say, you know how you stop it, salespeople? You stop doing it first. Because I get ghosted by salespeople all the time.
If ghosting is the concern, right, then like they're not building value. That's the issue. They're not they're not making that meeting important enough for somebody to come to or buy, like to purchase.
I think there's a billion reasons why people ghost, and we'll never have the reason of why they do it. The question becomes, how do you solve, quote, ghosting?
Yeah.
One of the things I've found that's worked for me, and again, I treat this as more like going after SMB or consumer business really than enterprise in this specific area, is you got to get them to re-engage again.
Yeah.
Now, you can do all the guessing in the world you want why they're ghosting. You'll never have the right reason. So how do you get them to re-engage? I try to think of a very simple question that's relevant to just get them to just yes or no me back, because then I can restart the conversation again. You can't, when someone ghosts you, you can't act like you're at the same place you were the last time you had the conversation or email.
Yeah, the game has changed at that point. And a lot of sales reps that I've experienced this over the years, they approach it as, hey, you missed our meeting. When's a better time for you? And it's like, that also kind of falls on deaf ears because you have a different problem.
And they want to know, well, why? It's like, okay, well, again, like it's important to know why. It's important to get them engaged.
I would urge folks that are struggling with that to ask, right? Ask your prospect.
Yeah, but if they're not re-engaging with you, like if you ask that question, why haven't
if you ask enough people that question, you'll probably get an answer, and then that'll be an education in some ways.
So ghosting is a big problem. The other one is just getting people to attend meetings. Like booking a meeting is one thing.
I mean, we've got a 56% share rate. I think we're doing something right.
What's your percent?
56% share rate. But there's a lot of seasonality in our business right now, so it's cyclical in some ways, but cyclical. We dip at sometimes of the year, but on average we're on 56.
When is your busier season?
The busiest season is not right now. It's in fact the fall, winter. Yeah, our customers are like really busy right now, and it's almost like calling an accountant in tax season, right? Yeah, you don't want to do it.
So wait, did you say your booked meeting to actually having a meeting is 57%?
Yeah.
Is that good?
56%. I think that's great, especially for outbound.
So 40 some odd percent don't show up for the meeting?
That's correct.
Wow. That's a problem though.
Yeah, but for outbound, it's a good metric.
Is it?
I think so.
Industry wise, that's good.
I think it is.
Man,
I've managed teams that have sold in just about every industry.
Yeah.
Financial services, insurance, real estate, architecture, construction, engineering, right? All these things. And I mean, if outbound, you're at 50%, that's good. So
is it vary for you from your smaller accounts to your bigger, your enterprise accounts to your smaller? Is there a higher different change percentage?
You know, I never really looked at it that way, but I would say it's probably higher for the enterprises, right? Because if they accept a meeting, they have a reason to show up to it. It's a lot different than this person just called me out of the blue, right? They're shopping, or there's a reason they're coming to it. Yeah. They usually have more of a plan.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Let's change. Let's go to one I'm less emotional about.
Sure. Got a lot of emotions today. A range of emotions.
I'm half Italian, 51% Italian. Verified on 23andMe, by the way. What the heck was I going to say now? You made me totally forget. Oh, your sales stack might not, it probably is not that complicated given that phone is your main vehicle. Yeah. So talk to me about your sales stack.
Yeah. We use a couple different tools. The whole first half of this year, I had a big project where we were getting the team into Salesforce, right? Our mothership uses Salesforce. We were in HubSpot. Yeah. So we spent a lot of time aligning, the fun stuff, aligning fields and making sure the data is curated and clean and stuff. And so we actually just got into Salesforce this week. We have Dialpad as our dialer.
Corporation is all in one platform.
Yeah, exactly. So before we had stuff going from HubSpot into like a data lake, and this is just a lot simpler. It all just flows into one thing, and you can kind of slice it however you want now. But yeah, so it's Salesforce, Dialpad. I mean, it's pretty lean.
Yep.
Slack.
What do you use for outbound, for marketing, for outreach?
Still pulling stuff out of HubSpot, and then the marketing team has a bunch of different tools.
Any AI specific tools?
We use a lot of AI more internally at this point for meeting minutes and things like that, right? Taking notes. Yeah. We're not really using it as a customer facing tool just yet. We're still kind of exploring where that's going to fit in.
ChatGPT at all?
We use it again internally for drafting stuff and taking notes. Yeah.
So is AI going to replace salespeople or what? We getting there?
I think there is a future.
I don't have a problem if it does, as long as they continue to.
I mean, one of my favorite movies is Back to the Future, right? So you look at the space-time continuum, right? There is a parallel universe where it's possible. Are we going to get there? I don't know.
Are you literally using Back to the Future?
Yeah. I also just watched it recently, so it's fresh.
Are you going to use the X-Files maybe later too?
Never watched the X-Files, believe it or not. But yeah, I think there is an alternate universe that we may head towards. We may go the other way, where Biff rules the world, right? That's bad. We don't want that. but it could be that we do, right? And I think if it gets a little bit smarter, because
so what do we do if it
I use it, and there's still some stuff that I'm like, why is it telling me this? What do? We have to just get better at our jobs, right?
Is it
more be irreplaceable?
Is it more frustrating getting ignored from a bot or a human being? Is what I want to
know. It's a good question. Maybe the bot, because the bot was developed by humans. Then you're getting really ghosted by two people.
Yeah. It would be funny to just do a show of listening to people scream at bots. You know what I mean? Cursing out bots and damn you bot.
Yeah. If you ask Siri certain questions, you'll get some interesting responses.
Yeah. What's the biggest challenge you guys are facing? I think it's, and I say that because, I've been doing sales for a long time. And I think what we're going through specifically in SaaS sales is very interesting. And I don't know if we ever get to back to the really peak of it, which was the middle of the pandemic, where a lot of companies just Zoom and others are just I think if we get back to a more normal state, that's like 2018, 17, so on and so forth. But like, what do you think about what's currently going on and what the future lays ahead?
I mean, I think specifically in the industry that my team's selling to, it saw a huge boom in the pandemic, and still riding the coattails of that boom right now, right? And so there's a lot of
digital transformation. Is that the reason why?
No, I think it's actually more simple than that. I think it's just that boating was one of the safe outdoor activities that people could do.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people bought boats, right? It was one of those things that was acceptable everywhere, right? And so they saw this huge boom, and then because we're dealing with the storage side of it and managing it, they need tools and systems to manage it better. And there was a lot of PE groups that got into the space that are trying to consolidate, right, and buy a bunch of. It's basically a race to the top. You can buy the most properties as fast as they can, right? And so there's a need to manage it all through a single pane of glass, which is what we offer. So I think in our industry we saw this boom. I think in other markets there could be potentially like a little bit of a bust because it's so flooded. Now I mentioned we have fierce competition too, but I think of other tools that I've sold and other teams that I've managed. And it can go either way depending on who you're selling to. But again, it comes down to the value at the end of the day, right? What's the value prop, and is that something that resonates with your market or not?
That's true. Do you solve a pain?
Yeah.
The problem is there's 10, 20, 30, 40 others that solve that pain some way, supposedly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest challenge, is that it's gotten cheaper and cheaper and cheaper to start technology companies to get, well, it was easy to get funding at some point. But there's such a flood of different solutions in if you look like an ecosystem chart, right? It used to be like 5 per category, whatever it is. Now there's, you can't even fit it on one chart anymore, right? Yeah. So, hey, I don't want to be asking all the questions. We have some folks in the audiences. Anyone who wants to ask a question, there's a mic here. You got to flip it on. And
give me a tough one. Give me a tough one.
Oh, stop being so polite. Come on. Just get up there. Linda, one question, Linda.
Throw me a curveball.
One question.
You're from Jersey. Which exit?
Nice.
Is this thing on? Yes. Okay, so I took a quick look at your LinkedIn, and so far I loved what I saw. I didn't get a chance to read it, but you talk about being a rock star, and I overheard you saying that you have a degree in media.
I do.
So what I'm wondering is, are you able to leverage your musicality in any way in your sales, and like even to the point of maybe writing rhymes and jingles?
I have been known to bust out a haiku or two for the team. Oftentimes I'll just randomly, I won't even tell them it's a haiku. They have to figure it out. I'll just send a little poem.
Do they know what a haiku is?
Yeah, someone will eventually call it out within a few minutes. But so was there another part to that?
Do you have a YouTube channel and places people can see you singing?
I don't. So I'm dating myself a little bit here, but it was before. TikTok? I mean, this was before MySpace even, right? So you'd have had to come see us live and get a camcorder out or something. But yeah, I think there's a lot of ways. I think most sales leaders equate running a sales team to running a sports team, and that doesn't resonate with me because I don't really know anything about that. I played soccer as a kid. I've got a trophy for getting second place in the Mayor's Cup in my hometown, and that's my claim to fame there. But I really think of sales teams as bands, and like when I think of training, I think of rehearsal, right? And so I always took being in a band really seriously, and I kind of run this the same way. You've got to have a clear vision, you've got to have the passion, but you also have to have the skill, right? That's where the rehearsal comes into play. I'm really passionate about training and development, and ultimately, like sales for me, I mean, gosh, I was a broke, starving artist, so it helped me get out of a rut and pay off debt and all these things. And so yeah, I'm still a salesperson at my core, right? But as a sales leader, I'm really passionate about helping other people experience the same sales that I've experienced, right? And the same.
Well, musicians are typically good with math too, right?
Yeah, I'm okay with math. I need a calculator for certain things, but I can get by pretty well.
Great question, Linda, as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
What a familiar face. Who are you, ma'am?
I'm Ari Gardner's wife, Michelle. And I have a really tough question.
here.
A really tough question for
Got the
you.
garbage this morning? No.
I put the garbage can away last night.
Yes. Good job. What's the craziest thing you've ever done to celebrate a sales win?
Ooh. Oh, this is a good one. Okay. So this might be, again, this is why I love what you're doing here, because you can do this stuff here. Throw over desks, right? We sold one. No, but there was one time where we sold a huge deal, and me and my team just so happened to have a bunch of banana suits laying around.
Banana seats?
Suits.
Oh, suits.
Yeah. And so we all put on banana suits, and we called it a banana lap, and we did a lap on the little razor scooters, like around the whole office, to celebrate.
Is that a Citrix thing?
That was a Citrix thing. Yeah, people might have witnessed that, but that was a banana lap.
And he still owns the banana suit
I wear it every Halloween.
with over a clown costume.
I'm glad you
A
guys
spooky
kept
clown
that in mind.
costume.
Thank you. Ari, this has been great. Before you leave, though, I think I already know a lot of interesting things with you, but I always like to keep it out there. What is one thing very interesting about you? We can't use the musician thing. Sure. That is interesting. That most people don't know.
Ooh.
Michelle would know, but
what's one thing about me? A lot. So, well, you know about the musician thing, but a lot of people play guitar, but believe it or not, I've got silky golden pipes in here.
You got what?
Silky golden pipes in here. I can bust out.
Is that right?
Angelic melodies for you.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
All right, Ari. Thank you for coming on as a guest. This was great.
Thanks, Vince. Yeah, happy to be here. It's exciting.
Next time, Sales HQ.
Yeah, get out of the house and